Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, the podcast where we explore the origins and the development of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters throughout the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It's all about legacy again today.
It is indeed.
We're taking a leap into the 30th century, into the far, far future. And we're doing the story from issue 373 of Adventure Comics, published on the 29th of August, 1968. Very exciting, dynamic cover. It's our 9th Neil Adams cover, I think. 9th featured Neil Adams cover.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, do you want to tell everyone all about it?
I would love to.
Amazing.
You have the standard Adventure Comics logo, and it says featuring Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes on it, just in case you weren't sure who was standing in it. A nice green background. Legionnaires present are Element Lad, Princess Projectra, Superboy, and Karate Kid. And there's two new characters, a ginger boy and a ginger girl, both in kind of purplish outfits. And the ginger boy is tossing Karate Kid over his shoulder into the ginger girl's pummeling fist.
Yes, it's not the easiest time Karate Kid is having.
No, it's shocking for the mastery of unarmed combat. And this boy is saying, "You want us to join your crummy legion? That's a joke." And the girl is saying,
"You're just not in our class. We can outfight all of you like this." Poof, punch. Just underneath her right arm on my copy, there's a lovely Thorpe and Porter 1 shilling price stamp.
Ah, there you are. Nice. And at the bottom of this, we have a caption box that says, "Can you spot the clever comic clues? Who are the Tornado Twins?"
Yeah, so don't spoil it, listeners, for anyone that you're with that doesn't really know what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I like this cover a lot. It's a slight, one of your famous slight Dutch tilts to it. Very dynamic. I've always been a bit kind of on the fence about the Tornado Twins uniforms. You know, the kind of loose blousey tops and the thigh-length blue sort of leather boots that they both seem to be wearing.
Yeah, kind of basic and generic, but hey, it works with the story.
No, it's not even that it's basic. It's just sort of it's just unusual.
It's almost like Challengers the Unknown kind of outfits.
Yep. I think, is this the podcast debut of Princess Projectra and Karate Kid?
I believe it is,
Our
yes.
podcast debut. Anyway, so, yes, listeners, see if you can guess why we're doing this story. You probably can. We'll jump straight in then. We have an opening splash panel. Caption at the top that says,
"Tales of the Legion of Superheroes."
And over a couple of panels, you see a gentleman wearing tight-fitting blue uniform, which is a very fancy yellow collar. He's pointing at what looks like a meteorological chart showing Metropolis. And below, he's pointing out a very similar scene to the cover, actually, where the Tornado Twins are running rings around Superboy and Element Lad and Phantom Girl and Princess Projectra, and Karate Kid's getting dragged along. And the weatherman chap is saying, "And now, the weather. Hurricane Dawn is due to cut a swath across 30th century Metropolis. This is bad news for the Legion of Superheroes, namely Brainiac 5, Element Lad, Karate Kid, Phantom Girl, Princess Projectra, Sunboy and Superboy, because Dawn is a human hurricane, and with her brother Dawn, she's stirring up a storm that can wreck the Legion. See?" And that's when we're gestured towards the panel of everyone getting flung about. And a big caption at the bottom reaffirms that this story is called
The Tornado Twins.
So into the story proper, we arrive at the first panel of page 2, and a caption says,
"Welcome to Metro Heights Educational Center, Advanced Level 3. Here, a 30th century science class is now in session."
This is great. We can see all the kids in their chairs with headphones on, looking at a screen which is some kind of chemical mathematical formula being displayed on it, and overlooking them is another gentleman with a receding hairline and a goatee beard this time, wearing a green jacket top. There's another guy with him wearing a blue top with a big white V round the collar. And the chap in green is saying,
"Preposterous, Doctor. Do you mean to tell me that these students are actually learning while awake? Bah! Whatever happened to good old-fashioned sleep learning?"
"Well, Inspector, I realise our methods may seem a bit radical, but we're getting results." Next panel, we can see a close-up of some hands typing away in a futuristic typewriter keyboard type situation. The man in blue continues, "The class is now programming several hyper-redox equations into the school computer for balancing."
"I was told you had some extraordinary students, Doctor. Geniuses, I assume."
"Well, not exactly, sir. You see, and then they're interrupted by a bzzz noise, and the inspector cries,
"What's that noise?"
And then in the final panel, page 2, leaping up from where the kids are, we see two members of the Legion of Superheroes. Taking the lead is Sunboy, who says,
Flight ring emergency alarm, Phantom Girl, let's go.
and Phantom Girl replies, Right, Sunboy. The Inspector cries,
What's the meaning of this? And the Doctor says,
Those are our extraordinary students, Inspector. They're Legionnaires who must remain on 24-hour call.
outrageous! The school board will hear of this. You're setting education back 1,000 years.
Gosh, that's an exciting start. Top of page 3 now, first panel.
Meanwhile, in the penthouse home of Princess Projectra.
Yeah, this looks very swish. It almost reminds me of Dimension Man's interdimensional pad in That Is Your Challenge as we did. It also
Excellent.
looks like the sort of fancy place that Barry Allen might have moved into if he hadn't got married to Iris. I don't know. We see that Princess Projectra, in civvies, has opened the door to Val Amor, Karate Kid. Karate Kid's in the process of saying,
Hi, Princess. I was just passing by on my way to the clubhouse and... Great Orion, you live here?
Yes, won't you come in, Karate Kid?
Wow, this layout's fancier than the President's mansion.
I know. I really didn't want anything this big, but Father insisted.
Yeah, I guess when your dad's the king of Orlando, you sort of have to live in style, huh?
It's not so bad once you get used to it. Would you like to see the rest of the place?
There's more?
Yeah, they start walking up some stairs and we can see that there's fancy artwork on the wall, lots of trees and plants around. It's very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
The caption for panel 3, some time has obviously passed.
Later.
And Jackie and Karate Kid are out on a balcony. You can see her swimming pool underneath with its diving board, and it's very, very fancy. I'd quite like to live there, can't lie. 30th century looks amazing. And the princess is in the process of saying, and this is the pool, filled with fresh Orandan spring water. Next door is the tape library, and of course, the 3D theatre.
I always wondered how the other half lived.
And then we get another
Bzzzt.
Karate Kid realises his alarm's going off because he says,
The alarm! An emergency, come on!
and then we get another slow dissolve and another caption.
At the same time, elsewhere.
And we see we're at the Sky Drive-In, now playing, and a sign says that the film being shown is Cosmic Cloud That Swallowed Earth. And we can see at the front of the panel there's a blue flying car, which is at the snack shop ship. There's a sign on this device says, Please pay auto cashier. And we can see that the couple in this car are taking delivery of their munchies before they go and watch the movie. Young man in the car is blonde-haired. He's a pink and white shirt on. And the young lady with him is saying, I hardly ever get to see you anymore, Jan. You're always so busy as Element Lad. The Element Lad replies,
I know, Maria, but being a Legionnaire is a full-time proposition.
We arrive at the top of page 4 on a caption that says,
Suddenly...
and yet again we have another bzzzt as the alarm goes off. Element Lad says,
The alarm, I'm needed.
Oh, you're not going to run out on me again.
I have to, doll. Drive yourself home.
And the next panel, he is let from the car, falling down. Amazing. I hope he's got his flight ring on, otherwise that could be
I
nasty.
can't see his flight ring
I
in the
know.
picture.
Well, maybe he's, I don't know, his left hand's slightly out the frame, so it's
hopefully.
possible. Hopefully.
Oh, no, wait, actually, look. You can see his alarm go off on his right hand in the first
of
panel.
course,
When
yep.
in the second panel, his flight ring is gone. It's
Okay.
vanished. He must have willed it into invisibility.
Willed it into oxygen or something because he's so high up or something, I don't know.
Or the artist made a mistake.
So as Element Lad falls away, Mariah says, Jan, wait! I can't drive! Jan! Ugh! This is the last time I'll ever date a superhero.
Meantime, at the Legion headquarters, as two members engage in a tabletop mock combat.
Yeah, this is great. A lot going on here. We can see tanks and explosions and little rockets flying around. And we're in the company of Superboy, Brainiac 5. And Superboy is saying, I have you outnumbered and surrounded. Well, Brainiac 5, you've lost this table game of computer war. Brainy replies,
Have I, Superboy? See if you still think so after my next maneuver.
and then, corner of the panel, there's yet another bzzzt. And Brainy continues,
Hey, that's the emergency alarm. Quick, to the monitor
and
room.
we're at the monitor room in the final panel of page 4. We see that Superboy and Brainiac are looking at the screen, and Superboy very helpfully points out, Look, on the viewing screen, the United Planets Vehicle Research Center in Sector 5. And Brainy says,
Crooks are stealing the super-fast experimental vehicle stored there.
yeah, and what we can see is it looks like someone's driving away a big fancy red car and it's covered in fins. There's a blue spaceship flying overhead, and there's another very blimp-esque dirigible type thing that's borne along on wheels as well, so that's obviously being sort of carried away and stolen. We can see that the United Planets Vehicle Research lettering on the building, and big hole in the wall as all the guys emerge. Brainiac finishes this panel saying,
Those rigs are worth billions. Let's scoot.
and then top of page 5, the first panel says,
Seconds later, as the Legionnaires fly high over the sprawling megacity.
Yep, the whole team's assembled. We see Element Lad, Brainiac 5, Superboy, Phantom Girl, and Karate Kid. Presumably Jackie's just out of panel. As they're flying along, Brainiac's saying,
More speed, pals. If they take off in those speed machines, they could be halfway to Venus before we land.
and then the caption for the next panel says,
But...
and this panel shows everyone arriving at the United Planets Vehicle Research Centre in Sector 5. And we can see that the vehicles that are being stolen are all sort of strewn around the ground in front. And we can also see that there's some bad guy looking figures all tied up in ropes strewn around the ground. As they fly down, Brainiac says,
This is the place, but it sure looks quiet now. And Superboy says,
There's the Helios 8, the fastest surface vehicle in the galaxy, safe and sound. Karate Kid says,
and all the other record-holding runabouts, sea, air, and spaceships of every type.
and Element Lad contributes,
Great Zoron! The crooks are all trussed up for delivery to jail. Somebody beat us to the punch.
and we can see a couple of figures sitting, relaxing on one of the vehicles, looking very nonchalant, arms folded, pretty chill. And it's the purple-clad pair that we saw on the cover. The final panel then of page 5 has a caption that says,
As the heroes alight.
yeah, and we get a closer look at the two red-headed teens. Superboy says, Moons of Krypton! Don't tell me you two mopped up that gang of hoods alone!
And the red-haired girl leans forward and says,
Why not? You super guys took so long, you were late for the party. You can see in the background a better shot of the hoods all tied up. They have interesting sort of helmets and goggles going on. They actually, now that I look at them, they remind me of the bad guys from the video for Take On Me by a-ha.
Yes, yes.
That's the song we'll be playing out with this week.
Of course.
So we arrived top of page 6. You can see the big hole in the wall. The red-haired kids are standing beside it. The boy's saying,
But we left something for you to do. This wall needs a little repair job.
Wait, says Superboy. Who are you? How'd you corral these baddies?
I'm Dawn Allen, and this is my sister, Dawn. Now, cut the Inquisition so we can get back to work.
Start walking off. Karate Kid puts his hand on Dawn, that's the boy. We should point out that the boy's name is spelled D-O-N, the girl's is spelled D-A-W-N.
Yes.
Karate Kid puts his hand on the boy's shoulder, saying,
Stand fast, buddy. When a Legionnaire asks a question, you answer. We're authorized science police deputies.
and then the next panel, Dawn, the boy, flips Karate Kid into the air, saying,
Then go bother some lawbreakers.
prompts Sunboy to say,
What speed? I didn't even see Dawn move.
and as he goes flying, Karate Kid says,
Hey, I'm supposed to be the judo expert.
amazing, the caption for the next panel.
As Karate Kid lands nimbly on his feet.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to square up to Dawn straight away. Superboy has to hold him back. And Karate Kid says,
You're quick, chum, but nobody's speedy enough to duck my mitts.
Kid, wait, says Superboy. He's right, they've broken no law. And in the final panel of page 6, as the two red-haired teens walk away, Dawn Allen, the boy, says,
See you later, Legionnaires. Let's cut out, Dawn. We still have plenty to do.
Interesting. So, slow dissolve, top of page 7, caption of the first panel.
As the two mysterious figures move out of sight of the Legionnaires.
Dawn, the boy, says,
So far, so good. All according to plan.
We did it, Dawn. And that's great. I think that's so far so good. Is that the first comic we've done that's quoted the Magnificent Seven? I can't remember. Caption for panel 2 of this page says,
Later, in Legion HQ.
This is a great panel. We see Brainiac relaxing in a big chair with a big book. It's probably something very clever. And he's saying to Superboy,
Hi, Superboy. Just studying up on my advanced nucleophysics.
Can you tell me where Karate Kid is, Brainy?
In the gym, I think.
Caption for the next panel then.
Minutes later.
And this is great. We see Karate Kid getting stuck in to some, well, very helpfully, Superboy thinks. There he is, working out on the practice robot. And then the next couple of panels are Val getting stuck into the robot. Off panel, Superboy thinks, wow, I've never seen a kid strike with such a vengeance. Karate Kid cries, ha! In the final panel of this page as he smashes the robot to bits. Superboy remarks, whoa kid, take it easy, those robots cost money. Continues at the top of the next page. What's wrong, kid? Still shook up about being tossed for a loop by that guy at the research center? Forget it.
That's easy for you to say, Superboy. You're loaded with powers. But I only have one power, which I developed from early childhood. My fighting ability is my whole stock in trade. If that fails me, I'm nothing.
Yep, Val punches at the wall in frustration. We can see that he's using a towel to rub the sweat from his neck. He's obviously been working very hard. Caption then for the next panel.
Suddenly...
And once again, we have a bzzzt. Karate Kid says,
Listen, the alarm, an emergency.
let's move, says Superboy. Caption for the next panel.
Seconds later...
And we see Phantom Girl, Brainiac, Element Lad, Karate Kid and Superboy rushing along. And Superboy says, hurry, There's been a disaster at the Alpha Iron Mine. It's too far for flight rings. Into the ships. Indeed, we can see a red rocket ship just in front of them. Caption then for the final panel of page 8.
Soon.
You see that the red rocket ship they were using has alighted. The Legionnaires are disembarking. There's a policeman on a balcony up above them. And Superboy says, "What's the situation, officer?" Cop replies,
Some VIPs were on an inspection tour of the automated section of the mine. There was a short in the control room. The robot workers went haywire, causing a cave-in.
Superboy replies, "What level and section? We're going down." We're told that we're continued in the second page following. Past an advert for some robot toys called the Zeroids.
They look
quite
awesome,
interesting.
yeah.
They do, don't they? Jinx, yeah.
Almost like a Cylon, that first one.
There's a touch of the robot from Lost in Space and Robbie the Robots to them. They're very interesting. Any listeners who own perfect mint complete sets of all of them,
Send us some pictures.
either send us some pictures or send us the toys. Awesome. So we arrive at the top of page 9, caption for the first panel.
Moments later, as the Legionnaires descend to the cave-in level 200 miles below the surface.
Gosh, that is deep. So very interesting panel showing Superboy and some of the other Legionnaires running along, the rest of them in silhouette, but we can see Superboy clearly. Karate Kid says,
This is it, Brainy, Superboy says.
"Keep your eyes peeled, Legionnaires." And coming up behind Superboy is Sunboy, who says,
Why, we can't see 3 feet in this blackness. Anyway, the power's being cut.
"Why doesn't he automatically just generate a..." Anyway. The next panel we see Brainiac at 5 pointing and saying,
Look, down there, those glowing spots. What are they?
and we can see it in the darkness ahead of the kids. There's sort of 4 lights hovering in midair. Superboy says, "It's never too dark for my super eyes. Those are mine robots." Karate Kid says,
I can't see them. If only the lights were operating.
and then, caption for the next panel,
Suddenly, from out of the darkness...
yep, we see half a dozen mining robots, all shaped like men, looming out of the darkness. Phantom Girl cries, "They're attacking!" Superboy says, "Watch out!" Brainiac 5 says,
We can't fight what we can't see. Sunboy.
and then Sunboy says,
Gotcha, Brainy. I'll brighten up this scene.
yep, gestures with his hands, creates a massive burst of radiant sunlight so we can get a proper look at the robots. Trouble in the next panel, though, as we see that Princess Projectra is suddenly caught in the jaws of what looks like some kind of digging machine. She cries, "Help! Someone!" Element Lad rushes forward thinking,
The princess in the jaws of that giant digger. Got to save her. I'll change the iron jaws to helium gas.
then we see a sort of cloud emerging at the top of the giant green digging machine as Element Lad's powers take effect. In the next panel, we see Phantom Girl going to work on one of the robots, saying, "I can disable these haywire heaps of tin by turning my hands immaterial, reaching inside," and Superboy cries, "Phantom Girl, watch out!" And Tinya's struck in the back of the head by one of the other robots. We can see at the front of the panel, her hands have gone translucent as she's moved them inside to one of the robots. Very effective. She reacts with an as she's struck. And in the first panel of page 10, we see Phantom Girl down on the ground rubbing the back of her head. And then we see Karate Kid managing to get an amazing speech out before he gets struck by a robot saying,
I've smashed enough practice robots in my time to be an expert at robot killing, but even my super karate isn't doing me much good against this Innertron armoured tunnel robot.
There's a little burst there as he gets struck. Superboy runs in from the background, cape flying, thinking, "The kid is down. PG's hurt. The others are hard pressed. It's all up to me." And then the caption for the next panel,
But before the Boy of Steel can act...
one of the robots is looming up above Element Lad and Karate Kid, and Element Lad cries,
Look out! The roof!
Karate Kid yells,
Cave in!
and then the caption for the next panel,
With a sudden thunderous roar, tons of rock and earth cascade down into the tunnel.
This is horrendous. We can see that only Superboy wasn't caught in the rockfall. He's saying, "The tunnel's been sealed. I'm cut off from the group."
As Superboy pits his mighty strength against the fallen earth,
Yeah, we see Superboy lifting a rock out the way, but then behind it, there's a glowing green rock. Superboy says, Kryptonite. It can kill me. That meteor must have been buried here centuries ago. Gotta get back to the surface and get help.
seconds later...
We see Superboy emerging from the tunnel into the mine. Corp running forward says,
Superboy, what happened?
"Quick, we need help. The others may be dead already." And then a voice says from off camera, "We'll go down." And then at the top of the next page, Superboy sees that the Tornado Twins have arrived and he says, "Who? Dawn and Dawn? But you can't go down there alone. It'd be suicide." Dawn, the girl, replies, "We'll see about that. Come on, Dawn."
Meanwhile, in the black depths of the pit...
Meanwhile, in the black depths of the pit was a menswear B-side. We're back with Karate Kid and Element Lad. Karate Kid's punching out a robot. Element Lad's using his powers. Element Lad is thinking,
The kid's revived. If only he and I can hold out.
It's a great shot, actually, because Element Lad's using his powers, obviously, to turn one of the other robots into gas. It's very effective. Karate Kid is so cool that he's punching out a robot and not even looking at it. He's just looking over. Again, he's obviously enthralled with what Element Lad's doing. Karate Kid is thinking,
Where is Superboy? With the others injured in the cave-in, there's not much hope unless he lends a hand. Suddenly, from out of the darkness...
yeah, and emerging through the rock walls, we see Dawn and Dawn. And Dawn the boy is saying,
The Space Marines have landed, Legionnaires.
this is an excellent panel because it really looks like there's dozens of mining robots. There's only one explanation for it. There's loads of them getting stuck into Element Lad and Karate Kid. One of them's holding a pickaxe, which it looks as if he's about to strike Phantom Girl.
Ouch.
There's another guy at the back with a rake who he looks as if he's going to hit Element Lad with it. Very, very horrendous. Karate Kid is thinking,
It's Dawn and Dawn, walking through the rubble as easy as Phantom Girl could if she were conscious.
in the final panel of this page, Dawn, the girl, gestures, saying, I'll give these two a hand, Dawn. And her brother replies,
And I'll race down the tunnel to rescue the victims of the first cave-in.
yeah, and as Dawn the girl gestures, well, basically Karate Kid very helpfully tells us what's happening. He thinks,
What is this? She waves her hand and the robots fly against the wall.
interesting. Top of page 12, Dawn, D-A-W-N, is getting stuck in to a couple more robots, smashing them around, and she's saying, Stand back, kid. I don't want you to get hit by any flying parts. Karate Kid thinks,
Great Zoron, this gal's a human hurricane. First her brother tosses me for a loop, and now she pulls me out of a tight spot. This could give a guy an inferiority complex.
I wonder if Princess Projector's got some competition here for Karate Kid's affections. Anyway, that's probably too much of a throw forward, isn't it? Dawn looks very modest in the front of this panel. She's maybe she can read minds, maybe she knows what Karate Kid's thinking, but in the background we see a rather grumpy-looking Element Lad who's saying,
Kid, help me take the others out.
yeah, he's not too impressed with Karate Kid scoping out the female tornado twin. So, a slow dissolve, and the caption for panel 3 says,
Later.
and this is very significant here, we see the tornado twins standing, obviously with some of the mine workers who they rescued. One older chap with glasses, his arm is in a sling, he's shaking hands with Dawn, the boy, and he's saying,
Mr. Allen, I'd like to shake your hand. It took great courage to come down into that pit after us. A brilliant effort.
yes, the twins look very modest. The next panel shows the Legionnaires limping away towards their spaceship. The rescued miner with his arm in a sling continues.
And I must thank the Legion too. They did their best, even though they failed.
And rather cruelly, Dawn, the female tornado twin, is laughing. She's giving it some, ha-ha, that's a bit sick. Slow dissolve, caption for the next panel.
Back at the clubhouse when all have recovered.
Yep, and they're obviously having a right good row about this whole situation. Sunboy is saying,
Well, say something, somebody. What do we do about these glory-snatching Allens?
Brainiac 5 says,
We cool it, so they stole our thunder a couple of times. Big deal.
Phantom Girl, who appears to have a copy of the day's newspaper, she's just nipped past the station and grabbed a copy of the Metro. She's saying, Bigger than you think, Brain Boy. Take a squint at the computer news. She's holding up the newspaper. In the first panel of the next page, we can see the clear headline says, Legion outclassed. Brother or sister team shows up heroes. Phantom Girl continues saying, To look at the headlines, you'd think the whole Legion struck out instead of just 7 of us. Sunboy says,
They're making us a galactic laughingstock.
Princess Projectra says from off panel, But why blame Dawn and Dawn? They've done nothing wrong. There's no law against outclassing us. Superboy joins the conversation, the next panel saying, Right, but the whole deal looks cockeyed to me. Where did those two pop up from? Element Lad says,
Yeah, if they're so powerful, where have they been hiding? Let's investigate. And Princess Projectra says,
I'm with you, fellows. And a caption for the next panel.
Soon.
We see a couple of Legionnaires watching a projection of Dawn, the girl tornado twin, attacking a robot. Brainiac is observing.
These automatic monitor tapes that recorded our mission in the mine haven't given us a clue about that pair. And Phantom Girl says,
We know they can pass through walls, send robots flying with a wave of the hand, and make us all look like saps. The question is still, how? Caption for the next panel.
Elsewhere.
There's a sign on the wall in the background that says Earth Information Bureau. We can see a very interested Superboy and Karate Kid in the foreground of the panel. A pair of red uniformed gloved hands are holding up a couple of what looks like identity cards. We can see the legend Earth Citizen, Dawn and Dawn Allen. And the person at the Earth Information Bureau is saying,
Ah yes, Dawn and Dawn Allen, both registered citizens, but according to the locator cards, they're perfectly normal, average people, no super abilities.
Interesting. We have another change of scenery, and the caption says,
And in Metropolis Science Police Central Headquarters.
And we see Princess Projectra seated in front of a screen, and she's got the information about Dawn, the boy, Tornado Twin, on the screen, and she's saying, "No police record on Dawn and Dawn." And Sunboy, looking at some cue cards, says,
And no records of any supercriminals even approximating their powers or descriptions.
In the final panel of page 13, we see 4 Legionnaires looking very, very thoughtful. Phantom Girl says, "Well, group, we struck out." Karate Kid says,
Yeah, no sinister motives, no info on where they got their powers. Nothing.
and Superboy and Princess Projectra look very deep in thought as the closing caption for this page says,
Yet there are plenty of clues. Have you solved the riddle of the twin tornadoes? The answer's at the end of part 2, but anyone who peeks ahead will be reported to the Comic Readers Association.
Listeners, have you worked out what's going on yet? You probably have if you know the story. I think the most significant clue was halfway down page 12, to be honest. So, centre page of this comic are taken up with an advertisement for CBS's Saturday morning output. We see adverts for the Archies, for Wacky Races, for Batman and Superman, all sorts of stuff that we probably didn't get in the UK till about 10 years later. Now, as we arrive at page 14, part 2 of the story, there is a caption that kind of blows the lid off the mystery here. It's a shot of Dawn and Dawn looking very smiley and a caption that says,
The fun-loving Allens Superheroes.
So the first panel, mid-conversation, Phantom Girl is saying, "Now what? Where do we go from here?" Brainiac says.
We sit tight and wait for the Allens' next move.
Then once again we get another bzzzt, and Karate Kid says,
Another alarm.
So in the next panel, Superboy and Phantom Girl are looking at a screen. All sorts of trouble happening. Superboy cries, "Look, on the screen, it's the chemical plant." And the man on the screen is saying, "Calling the Legion! A vat of liquid flame solvent has exploded, endangering nearby buildings." And that's what we can see. We can see like the liquid flame solvent pouring out the building and catching fire at the ground. It's horrendous. A little directional arrow takes us to the next panel, showing the Legionnaires flying into action. Phantom Girl is saying, "Flame solvent? That stuff will burn through solid steel. Let's go." Superboy says, "The plant is in Sector 4. Head south, Legionnaires."
Soon.
We see the Legionnaires arriving. Karate Kid says.
Man, this looks like a real job.
Superboy looks down at the flames and says, "Check. That flash flood of flame solvent is destroying the foundations of the Alcon building." And then suddenly, yep, you've guessed it, final panel page 14, the Tornado Twins rush into view. Karate Kid says,
Fires of Fuji, beaten to the punch again. Superboy says,
"This is getting monotonous." Brainiac says,
Hang back, heroes. Let's take a ringside seat and watch.
yeah, and we can see the twins are twirling their arms in the direction of the flames, making the flames separate and spread around. We get to top of page 15. The Legionnaires have landed to watch what's going on. Element Lad says,
What are they up to, Brainy?
looking down from above, we see Element Lad, Phantom Girl, Brainiac and Superboy. Brainiac contributes,
Looks to me like they're running so fast they're whipping up a powerful wind that's holding back the flood.
yeah, holding back the flood. We're getting Take That songs quoted now. Yeah, we can see the twins speeding around, the flames being diverted, and Superboy gasps, "Even I'd have trouble doing that." And then we get a shot from above, looking at the Tornado Twins, circling around the flames. Dawn, the male twin, says,
Nice work, sis. Keep forcing it into the sewer drain. The chemicals down there will neutralize this stuff.
"Right, Dawn," replies his sister. Up above, Superboy says, "They did it. They stopped the flood."
Seconds later,
Legionnaires alight down beside the twins. Dawn, the sister of the two, says, "Eh? The Legionnaires." Brainiac says,
Congratulations, you pulled off another beautiful rescue. And Superboy says,
"Yes, we have a proposition for you." Brainiac continues in the next panel.
We can use you two. I'm sure you could breeze through Legion training in no time.
Dawn says,
Us? In the Legion? And Dawn says,
"Sorry, but no thanks." Brainy says.
What? But
But this conversation's interrupted as Element Lad points to the skies and says,
look out! The Alcon building is collapsing.
and sure enough, we can see that the structure is starting to collapse and great chunks of masonry are falling down. Superboy says, "The flame solvent did that. Let's move, group." Top of page 16, the caption of the first panel.
But
We see Dawn, the female Tornado Twin, holding back Superboy, Sunboy and the others, and she's saying, "Don't trouble yourselves, we can handle this too." And rather cheekily, Dawn pushes Karate Kid out of the way, and Dawn says,
One side, small time.
To which the kid replies,
Hey, watch it, Buster.
and then in the next panel, very unusual layout. We might put this layout on the socials actually. See the Tornado Twins gesturing again with their hands. It's almost like they're creating little whirlwinds and forcing the building back into shape. Superboy remarks, I give up. How are they doing this? Brainiac says,
You've got me. Somehow, by waving their arms, they've created a force that's supporting the crumbling skyscraper.
The final panel of page 16 shows a very smug pair of Tornado Twins looking up at their handiwork, and Dawn says,
There, that'll hold it temporarily. Now you fellows can make repairs while we get on to more important business.
Karate Kid's not having this. He puts his hand on Dawn's shoulder saying,
No, you don't. You're not pulling out till I settle a little score with you, smart guy.
he squares up to the Tornado Twin at the first panel of page 17 saying,
Horning in on our hero game is one thing, but pushing me around is something nobody gets away with.
Don Allen replies,
Want a scrap? Fine, I'll oblige you.
and he says,
Your chin is a perfect place to give my knuckles a
with
workout.
a pow! He strikes Karate Kid with the left hook. Karate Kid thinks,
Oops, I couldn't dodge. He's too fast. I hope I haven't bitten off more than I can chew. I'll try a surprise move.
Karate Kid leaps into a kick, squaring Don in the chest. Don falls back, going, ugh! Karate Kid thinks,
Got him. Now if I could just keep him off balance long enough to finish him.
caption for the next panel,
But...
and, well, Don, the Tornado Twin, moves out the way of Karate Kid's lunge. Karate Kid falls forward thinking,
no dice. He's like a lightning bolt. By the time I reach for him, he's gone, but I still have one slim hope.
it's worth pointing out this panel has Don's sister looking very amused at
Yes.
what's going on. This would be great on TV. Really, we're in a movie, you know. This would have been, this would be, you can just picture this. Val going in, but whoosh, stepping out the way, all that sort of stuff. We arrive at the top of page 18. The fight's still going on. Karate Kid is thinking,
I'll leave myself wide open for the next attack. Ride with the punches, but make him think I'm hurt.
but the Tornado Twin has come up with another plan. We see him vibrating and moving at high speed. And Karate Kid thinks,
He's skidding along the sidewalk at incredible speed, kicking up pellets of pavement that sting like birdshot.
the next panel, Don, the Tornado Twin, is pulling his fist back as if he's going to strike Karate Kid again. And he says,
Now, chum, I'll put you out of your misery with a knuckle anesthetic.
Karate Kid thinks,
That's it. Come nice and close.
and he lunges forward, grabs Don by the collar in the next panel, saying,
Gotcha. You can't dodge my fists now, Swifty.
Don reacts, and his sister cries, No! She reaches forward, grabs Karate Kid round the throat in the next panel, saying, Nobody beats up my brother! Karate Kid replies,
Hey, what's the idea? Get those mitts off me.
Superboy steps forward, says, Hold it, girl! Let him fight it out fairly. No interference! And Don, the male twin, says,
Careful, super guys. Put a finger on Don and you'll regret it.
We're told we're continuing the second page following. We arrive at the top of page 19. The caption for the first panel.
Suddenly, the hero-to-hero duel becomes a free-for-all.
Yeah, we're practically at the cover now, I think, here. Nice bit of futuristic building in the background as Dawn, the female twin, lifts Karate Kid up and twirls him around. Dawn, the male twin, is whizzing around, knocking out each Legionnaire in turn. Princess Projectra's already down. We see Element Lad getting stung, and he gives us an ugh. Phantom Girl gives us an eek as Dawn punches out Sunboy. Superboy rushes forward thinking, He's as fast as I am, maybe faster. I can't lay a hand on him. Caption for panel 2.
In seconds.
The Legionnaires are all down on the ground except for Superboy. Dawn standing with her hands on her hips, looking very pleased with herself, and she says, And you wanted us to join your penny ante group? Ha! We can whip the whole lot of you. Her brother says,
And if that little demonstration didn't convince you, we'll just prove it again by putting you out of business.
In the background, a couple of onlookers. One of them says,
Hey, did you get that? And his pal replies,
I'll bet they do it too. Superboy's the only one they left standing.
Later.
Slow dissolve back at Legion HQ. Jackie's sat down looking very pained. Everyone else looks a bit fed up. Sunboy's trying to rally the troops. He's saying,
Cheer up, group. It's not the end of the world. And Princess Projectra says,
It may be for us, Sunboy.
What do you mean?
Brainy's turned over a newspaper. He says,
Look at the news. Does that seem encouraging?
See the headline, Computer News, Legion flops again. A photograph of the Tornado Twins. Super Duo routs Legionnaires. Amazing Allen Twins soon to reveal the secret of their power. The Allen Twins. Okay. They were moving very, very quickly. So, arrive at the top of page 20. Everyone looks a bit fed up. Element Lad is saying,
Our alarm hasn't sounded all day. People feel we're has-beens now. They've lost faith in the Legion. And Phantom Girl says,
But surely everyone hasn't.
Superboy says,
Afraid so. Phantom Girl looking very, what's her face from the Archie comics there? I can't remember which is which. What's the
Veronica?
dark-haired one? Yeah. Anyway, the next panel, they're watching telly again. You can see the twins in action on the screen. Sunboy is saying,
Look at these tapes from Central Scanning. All day, Dawn and Dawn have been answering pleas for help that would ordinarily have been Legion business.
an external shot of the Legion HQ in the next panel, which makes it very difficult to work out who's talking. So we're just going to assume that Sunboy continues in the first part here.
There are dozens of rumors flying around. The United Planets is hinting it may drop our subsidy. People are saying that even RJ Brand, our ultra-rich angel, may cut off our endowments.
But we need that money to operate.
Who's operating?
Panel 4, page 20, the caption for this panel says,
Suddenly, the troubled Legionnaires' discussion is ended by a familiar welcome noise.
Yep, once again we get another bzzzt. The Legionnaires' eyes all light up and Superboy says, The alarm! At last! Get a move on, you guys, hustle! But Sunboy and Karate Kid don't look too up for it. Sunboy says,
Why? Dawn and Dawn will take care of this as usual.
Karate Kid says,
Yeah, why worry?
the caption then for the final panel on page 20.
And so, for the first time in Legion history, the urgent pleading of the alarm goes unheeded.
Yeah, the bzzzt continues. Sunboy and Brainy sat looking dejected. Superboy standing with his hand on the tabletop. His cape furling in some breeze though, and he's thinking, it just doesn't seem right. Continued on the second page following. Following page, advertisement for an issue of DC Special, issue 1. DC Special, issue 1, wow. And an 8-page giant 179 issue of World's Finest, which I think I had at one point. Anyway, so we arrive at the top of page 21, and the caption for the first panel says,
For long seconds, the alarm continues. Then, the Legionnaires' eyes meet, and an unspoken agreement is reached.
Yep, everyone looking very concerned as Brainiac says,
All right then, let's go. Minutes later...
Yep, the kids are all flying down towards, well, very helpfully, everyone tells us what's happening. Sunboy says,
Look, in Central Square. Phantom Girl says,
a giant alien spaceship.
and then Superboy says,
It's flashing rays at us. Attack! And sure enough, there are little bursts of gold energy coming out of what looks like a porthole on the side of this giant rocket ship. It's a giant sort of purple rocket ship type effort, nothing too fancy. Karate Kid, Princess Projectra, Phantom Girl look very dynamic as they fly, and it's almost, you could almost think Neil Adams was involved in this actually. It looks very, very nice. There's a massive crash sound effect in the final panel of page 21 as the Legionnaires burst through the hull of the rocket ship. Phantom Girl says, but get a load of what's inside. Superboy says, hey, it's only a dummy, plastic and wood. Karate Kid concludes.
Then we've been hoaxed.
We arrive, top of page 22, and we see that inside the spaceship, well, Element Lad tells us,
It's a huge statue.
Phantom Girl concludes, of the Flash. And it's a massive, massive statue of the Flash as we know him as Barry Allen. Superboy and Karate Kid hovering in front. In the next panel, Brainiac says,
I see Dawn and Dawn down there. Maybe they're behind this.
Element Lad says,
Let's take a look-see.
yeah, we can see that the twins are down on the ground, and even from here we can see that they're not wearing the same outfit they had earlier on. For panel 3, we're down on the level with them, and we can get a closer look to see that they're essentially, well, we get told what they're wearing in a second. Dawn, he waves and says,
Greetings, Legionnaires.
and Karate Kid replies,
Those costumes, just like the one Kid Flash made famous 1,000 years ago. But why?
yeah, sure enough, it's actual Kid Flash costumes. Very fetching. The traditional red leggings and yellow leotard aspect. Dawn, she says, would it help if we told you we're direct descendants of Barry Allen? Brainiac says in the next panel,
Barry Allen, the Flash's alter ego. We should have guessed it from your names, but how?
Dawn says,
We'll fill you in, don't fret. And Dawn says,
you see, we're representatives of the Barry Allen Memorial Institute. Dawn says in the next panel,
Today has been declared Flash Day by the UP. Part of the commemorative ceremonies included the erection of this statue.
Dawn and I handled publicity for the event. We arrive on the final page of the story. There's an inset panel of narration from Dawn, the male tornado twin, as he says,
We decided that the best way to publicize Flash Day would be to remind the world of his greatness by recreating his powers in ourselves.
yes, a fascinating rippled flashback panel here. A bearded scientist in green operating some equipment, and we can see the two tornado twins being blasted by what looks like radiation. The scientist is saying,
Naturally, you two couldn't inherit Flash's powers, as they were acquired characteristics, but because your gene patterns are similar to his, I can give you the power of super speed the way a chance accident gave it to him. Temporarily, at least.
Yeah, there's sort of black glow behind them, radiating energy towards them, and Dawn is thinking,
Artificial lightning and chemicals splashing over us. I already feel faster.
continues his narration in the next panel, saying,
With Flash's speed, it was easy to vibrate through walls, create superspeed wind currents, and perform other feats.
and this panel shows Dawn hurling the mining robot back into the wall, and she's thinking, waving my arms super fast, I can create cyclone winds. So that explains that. And then Dawn says in the final panel, as her brother shakes hands with Superboy, by beating out you Legionnaires, we got plenty of publicity. Now our powers are gone, though, so thanks for being good sports about it. If our speed had been permanent, we'd have been proud to join the Legion.
The end.
And the closing caption digs us in the ribs and says,
Reader, did you spot the clue to Dawn and Dawn's secret in the title of Part 2? Take the first letters of Fun-Loving Alan's Superheroes, and what do you get?
what do you get? Well, write in and let us know what you got from that, listeners.
I think the male Dawn Tornado Twin is going to get a sock in the chops from Karate Kids.
Yes.
And if there's another panel after this, that's exactly what would be happening.
Yeah. Karate Kid, it's a very neutral expression.
Yes.
Yes. Very, very interesting. I mean, the Tornado Twins pop up again
Yeah.
during the 5 years later Legion. And then they're sort of cemented as being the actual children of Barry and Iris Allen, aren't they?
Yeah. Will we do the spoilers for the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the future. The end of the Flash series has the Flash and his wife Iris relocating to live in the 30th century. It's a slightly different version of the 30th century from this one because of the way timelines worked pre-crisis, but it's still the 30th century.
But it all gets kind of retconned into all being one unified 30th century. Sort of
Yeah. Post-crisis, it
in a
all
way,
becomes
because
one, yeah.
the Tornado Twins pop up in the 5 year later period of the Legion of Superheroes, and it's established that they are the actual children of Barry and Iris because some more DC characters then are introduced. There's the character of Impulse, very popular character introduced in the 90s, one of the Flash by Mark Waid, and the character of XS,
Indeed.
who's introduced in the post-Zero Hour reboot of the Legion of Superheroes as Barry Allen's grandkids. I've already pulled a gallery of Impulse and a gallery of XS covers to fill out the content for this week, listeners. You'll be glad to know. The reason we're covering this is because it's implications for the legacy of, mainly for the Barry Allen Flash.
Indeed, yes.
I mean, it's a bit of a stretch on our remit, but if we're doing stuff like Guy Gardner and John Stewart, there's no harm in us sort of doing this, and it reaffirms that the Flash legacy,
Indeed,
which
yes.
is coined and started by Jay Garrick, continues even further. And it's nice to do another Legion of Superheroes story, even if it's not really that typical.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you think of the story?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, although I don't like the idea of the Legionnaires just like hanging about in their clubhouse thinking, oh, well, someone else is going to take care of this. That doesn't really seem very noble and heroic. They should at least show face,
I'm not impressed with them choosing to ignore the alarm because they can't assume that the Tornado Twins are going to handle it. And, people might have died before they got to wherever it was they were going to.
And you think they would have solved a lot of health and safety issues by the 30th century, but no, you've got horrible mining disasters, you've got...
Yeah, mining robots that are attacking humans.
Yeah.
Something seriously wrong there.
Indeed. We've got this dangerous chemicals spilling out over factories. It's a terrible place to live. Terrible, don't go there.
Standards must have relaxed enormously. One thing I thought was hilarious was Element Lad at the start just being such a casual, insensitive jock.
Yes.
Because we've got so used to him being the
sensitive one.
And I suppose we mean sensitive in a nice way.
Yeah.
More in tune with other people's sort of regards and feelings, and because, he's the last of his kind and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny just to see him going, catch you later, doll, and leaping out the car. That was quite amusing.
Yeah.
This story has them saying that they're direct descendants of Barry Allen. It was another 17 or 18 years before the story was published that had Barry and Iris relocate to the future.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have known at that point that they could have been retconned or stated as being their actual children.
Yeah.
I do like them popping up in the versions of Wally's uniform. That's quite nice.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
And of course, the Tornado Twins did pop up again in the pages of the Flash comic last year when the whole Quantum Leap style bouncing around the multiverse was going on. So we'll be putting that cover up on the socials as well, kids, don't you worry. I like the idea that superhero legacies maintain and exist all the way up to the 30th century. You'd think that the Legion probably should have had more sort of a legacy hero aspect to it in some ways.
Definitely.
I mean, I know that there's a Laurel Kent story, isn't there?
Yeah, in the Legion Annual, yeah.
When, some Legion direct Justice League descendants all get kind of...
Yeah, it's a great story.
Trouble. Yeah, I remember that one. It's interesting.
Shall we see what the contemporary reaction was?
Yeah,
from
we
the
could.
time?
We could do, yes.
Okay.
Allow me to remove it from the plastic bag.
So jumping forward to issue 377 of Adventure Comics, which coincidentally has an interesting cover.
Yes, it features the key phrase, heroes for hire. So Luke and Danny ripped off the Legion.
Yes, there we are.
Very interesting cover. It's another Neil Adams one, but I won't include it in the tally. It's a very interesting story. Anyway, so the Legion outpost of this issue touched on issue 373, the story we've just done. It also talks briefly about issue 374. There's not really many full letters. It's just clips and highlights from several letters because they obviously got quite a lot of correspondence in those days. Third paragraph of this page deals directly with 373, and it goes a little something like this.
On the subject of number 373, we've received many letters asking us to bring back Dawn and Dawn Allen. Paul Palmer, Winchester, Massachusetts, asks, couldn't they acquire permanent super speed as Barry Flash Allen or Jay Original Flash Garrick did? They would make great Legionnaires. To which Daniel Wheeler, Bethlehem, PA, adds, if Brainiac 5 is so smart, why can't he give Dawn and Dawn permanent super speed? At least bring him back and make him honorary members, like Pete Ross.
Interesting.
Others are plugging for Kid Flash to join the Legion, or at least do a guest shot. Bob Stajowski from Erie, PA, writes, you're going to receive hundreds upon thousands of letters like mine telling you to bring Kid Flash into the Legion, and why not? You proved in Adventure 373 he could be one of the most powerful Legionnaires. He can get into the future on Flash's cosmic treadmill. There was at least one negative reaction to the story from Scott Gibson, Sterling, Colorado. You had a great plot, so why botch it up the way you did? The Tornado Twins could have been almost anything else, but you had to make them descendants of Barry Allen. Yee!
Scott, you're missing the point completely there. That was the whole point of the story, was that they were descended from Barry Allen. You know, actually, I'm just, before we go to the next part, I'm reminded, of course, that, do you remember another character from the 5 years later period of the Legion was Richard Kent Shakespeare, who was, his superhero name was Impulse. Do you remember him?
I forgot it was Impulse. Yeah.
Because he, obviously, it was implied, heavily implied, because the glasses that he wore, that he was a descendant of Clark Kent.
Yes.
And of course, he was Impulse before the Bart Allen Impulse character was introduced. So there's some more legacy for you. The rest of the chat about 373 continues. Next, let's get down to goofs. There are always plenty of letters from readers who've spotted boo-boos, or think they have. On number 373, John Farwell from Coral Gables, FLA, notes that Sunboy says there are no records of any supervillains with Dawn and Dawn's power, which is super speed. What about Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash? Wasn't he from the 30th century? And the response to that is nope, he was from the 25th century, 500 years before the time of the Legion. That's an interesting point, I suppose.
Although he is a time traveller, so, you know.
I mean, the whole DC future history thing is, it's one of these things that it's impossible to try and reconcile a lot of it. There have been many, many attempts over the years, you know, because you have the whole thing with the Great Disaster and the fact that in Professor Zoom's time, everything seems almost as advanced and fancy as the Legion's time.
Yeah, and then you jump forward to the 64th century and Abracadabra is going down to the job centre to look at posts for magicians.
Yeah.
So
I know. There's obviously quite an ebb and flow, I think, in society, ups and downs. That's really it. For now, there's not really much more direct commentary about these stories on this letters page. Obviously, I think the volume of correspondence, they only pick out some highlights. So we've done this story, obviously, because it's a legacy of the Flash, and as we've said in the past, much of the whole point of the podcast is Barry Allen's life story, really, because you know, he's such a big player in the events of the crisis, and I think this is worth covering because it lets us do another Legion superhero story. It's maybe a surprising aspect of legacy that we hadn't really thought about, I suppose.
True, yeah. This one was fairly late to the party in our list of what we're going to do.
Yeah, it was last summer that we thought about doing it. That was like a year and a half after we'd drawn up our initial lists and stuff. So this is sort of crept in. I'd noticed the Tornado Twins on the cover of the more recent issue of The Flash and sort of said to Pete, have we passed that issue? And Pete knew exactly what I was saying. And we jumped on to Mike's to check the publication date, and we were still a year ahead from who we were recording at that point, so we were okay. Worth doing, I think. It would have been interesting if one of them had dressed up like Jay Garrick. That would have made it a little bit more...
Can you imagine? That would have been great.
That would have made it a little bit more relevant, I suppose. But given that the Flash is, you know, really seen as the superhero that kick-started the Silver Age properly, it's nice to kind of dwell on that aspect of his legacy. And we'll have to see if there's any other stories with descendants or family members of established superheroes that we can pick up on at some point, maybe then, eh?
Indeed, yes. So let us know if you can think of any, and we'll include them in the podcast. You can get in touch with us by emailing us at the f2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media, because we're posting up, as David said, lots of interesting bonus material for this very episode. Now on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and on Facebook and Instagram, we are at the Earth2 Podcast, and it is the number 2 for all of our social media.
Yeah, if you find the time and have the inclination, please go to wherever it is you get your podcasts and rate and reviews. I'm told that such things are very good for us. And yes, and before you write in, we know about the story in Detective Comics that ties into the family member of Vigilante. Don't worry about that one. I've got that one on the list. But if you know of anything else, do please let us know.
And on that bombshell, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon on
The Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
Now, it should probably be Dawn, shouldn't it?
They're both done.
I think it's the girl just because she's at the front of the next panel. What do you think? It's so confusing. They didn't think of this, did they?
No, they didn't think of audio dramatizations when they wrote this back in 1968.
No. Okay, I'll do.
Why? Don and Don will take care of this as usual.
That was a great impression of phones from Stingray there for
That's
some
kind
point.
of what I've morphed into.
That's excellent.
Marina's trying to tell us something, Troy.
Amazing.